She reported her son missing, but the truth was worse than anyone imagined. This mother walked into the police station with a rehearsed lie, dry-eyed and cold. What happened next will leave you speechless. By the end, you'll hear the chilling words she whispered after throwing her own child off a bridge. Stay until the final reveal. You won't believe how far evil can go. It all began with a routine lie. On February 28, 2021, Brittany Gosney walked into the Middletown Police Department and told officers her 6-year-old son was missing. She arrived with her 2 other children, aged 7 and 9. Standing beside her was James Hamilton, her boyfriend. Their story was rehearsed, calm, and so painfully unnatural that it immediately raised alarms. Missing children's stories typically come with panic, with the kind of emotional chaos that bubbles over even in the strongest hearts. But Brittany's words were mechanical, her eyes dry. The officers had heard a lot of lies in their careers, but there's a particular kind of silence that follows when a mother says her child is gone, and it doesn't sound like grief. It sounds like guilt. Detective Hoover, a veteran investigator specializing in child cases, saw the cracks right away. Brittany said they had all gone to bed the night before, 10 p.m. for her and Hamilton, 9 p.m. for the kids. The next morning, James Hutchinson was gone. No signs of forced entry, no screams in the night, just a quiet, vanishing act in the dark. According to Brittany, she slept through the discovery. According to James Hamilton, he had gotten up around 4 a.m. and noticed the child missing, checked the house, even drove around looking. But none of them called 911. Instead, they waited until nearly midday to walk into a police station and report the child missing in person. It didn't take long for the inconsistencies to pile up. Hamilton claimed the back door was left open. Brittany claimed she was heavily medicated and unaware. Both claimed they looked everywhere, but neither looked believable. Then came the interrogation, the part where truth and fiction collide until one collapses. And the truth, when it came, was devastating. James Hutchinson was not missing. He had been unalived, and his death wasn't just a moment of madness. It was a carefully orchestrated purge. Brittany Gosney, under pressure, admitted that she had taken her children to Rush Run Park the night before. Not for fun, not for a walk, but to get rid of them. She used the phrase scare tactic. She wanted to leave them there to frighten them into behaving better. But somewhere between threat and action, she changed her mind. She got into the minivan and began to drive away. James, terrified, grabbed onto the door handle, and then he fell. His head hit the pavement. He stopped breathing. She picked up his limp body and drove back home, placing him quietly inside the house, and did nothing. Not a call, not a whisper, not a prayer. James Hamilton, when cornered, confessed to even more. He wasn't just aware, he participated. He described how the child's body was later tied to a brick and thrown off a bridge into the icy waters of the Ohio River. He remembered the splash. He remembered the silence. And then he remembered the road, lit only by headlights, leading them away from the evidence, away from James. But the truth is never that clean. Interrogators knew what they were hearing didn't fully add up. Brittany and James kept shifting details, contradicting themselves, contradicting each other. At one point, Brittany claimed the boy was alive when they left home. Later, she said he had already died. Possibly upstairs, possibly before they even reached the van. She said her boyfriend had pressured her for weeks to get rid of the kids, that he maltreated the kids. She said she tried to protect them, that she didn't know what else to do. She said too much. She said too little. But she never said what mattered. I loved him. Detectives listened to hours of testimony that felt more like performance than confession. At times, Brittany claimed her memory failed her. Other times she blamed medication, confusion, trauma. But the timeline was clear. James Hutchinson's death wasn't a mystery. It was a process. From starvation and neglect to hog-tying and psychological torment, to the moment of death and the cold, calculated disposal of a child's body in a river, Brittany Gosney and James Hamilton crossed every line. Hamilton later revealed that Brittany had giggled after they threw the body off the bridge. She said, "I heard him hit, then silence. There were no tears, no panic, no remorse. Just logistics, where to go, what to do, how to make sure no one ever found out. But they underestimated the depth of their own failure. Because James Hutchinson may have been small, but his disappearance rang out like a thunderclap. The search for his body was immediate. Law enforcement teams scoured the Ohio River with sonar equipment, divers braving dangerous currents and zero visibility. At one point, they believed they had found him, but it was just a tree branch of false hope. The currents had done their job well. The boy they discarded like refuse had been swallowed by the depths, leaving behind no corpse, no closure, only questions and echoes. When the courts weighed the evidence, they didn't hesitate. James Hamilton pled guilty to charges including kidnapping, gross abuse of a corpse, and child endangerment. He was sentenced to 19 years in prison, the maximum he could receive under his plea agreement. Brittany Gosney, who initially pled not guilty by reason of insanity, was later deemed fit to stand trial. She took a plea deal as well, admitting to life-taking and felony child endangerment. Both were designated violent offenders. Both were stripped of freedom, but no sentence, no matter how long, could come close to justice. In the aftermath, tributes to James Hutchinson appeared across Middletown. His school created a bench in his memory. It read, "The greatest thing we can do is to help somebody know they are loved and capable of loving." Another side bore his name, "In memory of James Hutchinson, a little boy who loved his school, his teachers, and his friends." The bench sits quietly now, beneath the sun and the changing leaves, visited by those who remember a child who smiled too easily, who gave too many hugs, who deserved too much more than what he got. His biological father, Lewis Hutchinson, shattered by grief, said, "He always loved to give hugs to people. When James walked into the room, no matter the mood, he never failed to bring a smile. He called for Brittany and Hamilton to rot in prison. And who could blame him? What remains most harrowing is not just the crime. It's the indifference. It's the mechanical way Brittany talked about leaving her kids. It's the way James admitted to hog-tying children as though it were discipline, not abuse. It's the way two adults sat across from detectives, weaving fictions, defending themselves, minimizing pain, while the body of a 6-year-old lay somewhere beneath the Ohio River, water rushing over him like the world trying to forget. They tried to erase James Hutchinson. They tried to bury him beneath excuses, contradictions, and mud. But his name remains, carved in stone, spoken in courtrooms, etched into the memories of those who heard his story. And for all their efforts to conceal what they had done, the truth emerged, crawling out from beneath every lie, gasping for air, like the boy they left behind. James was not lost. He was betrayed. And in that betrayal, we see the reflection of a society struggling to protect its most vulnerable. A child is not a burden. A child is not a problem to be solved. A child is a light. James Hutchinson was 6 years old. He loved school. He loved hugs. He loved life. And they threw him away. What do you think drives someone to treat a child like a mistake to be erased? Do you believe Brittany Gosney's story about being pressured? Or was she always in control? And what about James Hamilton? Was he a mastermind or just complicit? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This case deserves to be discussed, dissected, and remembered. If stories like this shake you, stay with us. Subscribe to the channel, because we don't just cover true crime. We reveal the cracks where truth and horror bleed together.